The 1986 season saw the rivalry between traveling partners Tuff, Lane Frost, and Jim Sharp take the sport of bull riding to a new level of competition. Tuff won the gold buckle for the year by a margin of $22,000, but Lane Frost won the finals. For the rest of the 80s, Tuff, Lane, and Jim set the pace in professional bull riding.
In 87, Lane won. In 88, Jim Sharp won. In 89, Tuff won.
Tuff Hedeman, Lane Frost, Jim Sharp, and Cody Lambert, whenever those guys showed up, chances are they were going to get the money. And if they didn't win, they were still trying to beat each other, and they took a lot of pride in beating each other.
As close as Tuff was to Cody and Jim, a special relationship developed between Tuff and Lane. They had first met back in 1980 at a national high school rodeo in Yakima, Washington. Lane was from Oklahoma. Tuff grew up in Texas. From the first minute, they were natural rivals.
Lane is probably just the opposite of Tuff in every way. Lane was an incredible athlete. The girls thought he was really good looking. He had the kind of personality that people loved him the minute they saw him.
It was an attraction of opposites.
Tuff had the big, thick Coke bottle glasses, and he walked funny, and he rode ugly. Lane was the movie star, and Tuff was the ugly duckling.
You know, Lane and I just became very close friends for whatever reason. I don't know why. We were opposites in a lot of ways, but I think we had a little more in common than most people knew. You know, he's without a doubt the greatest guy you'd ever know.
Tuff envied Lane's natural talent and ability. Lane respected Tuff's single-minded determination.
Lane also wanted to beat Tuff, but he wouldn't talk about it and wouldn't let it show. But Tuff let it show that he not only wanted to beat Lane, he wanted to beat everybody. But at that point in time, Lane was probably the best.
When they weren't competing against each other, Tuff and Lane vacationed together with their wives.
Lane was a great guy. He was fun to be around. We got to do a lot with Lane and his wife, Kelly. We had a lot of fun with them. I don't think I've ever had a friend that I could say that was as close as Tuff was to Lane, and it was just fun to watch them.
In July of 1989, at Frontier Days in Cheyenne, Wyoming, Lane drew a bull named Taking Care of Business. He rode him to the whistle and dismounted clean, but then the bull turned and hit Lane in the ribs.
He made a real great ride. When he got off, he fell. The bull put his head on Lane and kind of smashed him and just went on. Looked like no big deal whatsoever. Well, if you knew Lane Frost, you knew that if he wasn't up, that he was hurt bad, because he was one of the toughest guys I'd ever been around in my life. Really, really tough. So when I turned back around and saw that he wasn't up, I knew that he was hurt really, really, really bad.
He motioned that, you know, he needed help, and I knew something terribly was wrong.
The blow severed an artery. Lane was mortally wounded.
You know, I rode with him to the hospital and was there in an emergency room for what seemed like forever. It's the most helpless, most terrifying feeling in the world. You know, you just want to do something and just not able to.
The doctors were unable to stop the bleeding. Lane Frost died in the emergency room.
After the doctors and all the technicians were done, I went in and spent just a little time with him, said goodbye, and just the toughest thing I've ever done in my life.
Tuff was, you know, he was just devastated when he called me and with the news of Lane. It was just such a freaky accident that, you know, it's just one of those things you say shouldn't have happened.
It wasn't that I didn't know that we were in a dangerous business and a dangerous sport, but, you know, you don't expect a guy that's a world champion, a guy that's the best at what he does, you know, to die doing it. And, you know, that's a pretty hard pill to swallow. I lost the best friend that I'd ever had in Lane Frost.
For a while after Lane's death, Tuff and Cody were hesitant to ride bulls, although not for the reason you might think.
I was really scared before I got on another bull. I wasn't scared that I was going to get hurt. I'd ridden bulls for most of my life, and I knew I loved riding bulls. That wasn't a question. But I was worried that I wouldn't put the effort into it that I needed to, and Tuff was too. And we talked about it years later, but we didn't talk about it at that time.
Cody and Tuff knew that in order to ride a rank bull, your heart has to be totally into it. You've got to love it.
Well, and very dangerous in it. If you don't love it, if you're riding for the money or to show off for your girlfriend or because your dad used to be a bull rider and you want to make him proud, any of that, you're doing it for the wrong reason, because you can die out there.
Tuff Hedeman was a champion because he loved bull riding. He poured everything he had into it. But now the sport he loved had killed his closest friend.
You know, when something like that happens, I mean, you know, everything runs through your mind. And, you know, why am I doing this? Or should I never do it again? Or it's hard for somebody to understand that doesn't do what we do and doesn't ride. You know, this is what we've lived our lives for.
That year at the rodeo finals in Las Vegas, it all came down to the last bull. If Tuff could stay on for 8 seconds, he'd win the championship. He rode that last bull for 8 seconds to win the buckle, and then rode him another 8 for his friend Lane Frost. Tuff Hedeman was champion of the world for the second time, but Lane wasn't there to see it. The life and times of Tuff Hedeman returns in a moment on TNN.